Richie, perfect start on Saturday. You must have enjoyed it.
Well, I enjoyed the last 5 minutes, yeah. It was good to get started because, it'd been a long week. Obviously, the 3 or 4 days before that where it was all getting sorted, and then the build-up to the game, really. But it was nice to have the build-up because we're obviously trying to get our principles in. But, yeah, once the game kicked off, it was just important that, well, firstly, the lads did the right things, but secondly, obviously, we were trying to get that away win and that away goal as quickly as possible.
How pleased have you been with the response of the players since you walked through the door?
Yeah, very. We're not daft if somebody new comes in, you do get that immediate response, hence why, unfortunately, managers change. Otherwise, if that was the case, somebody would do the job for 20 years. So, we're aware that you get that instant reaction, but our aim is to try and create something where it's not just instant, it becomes part of the way of life of the football club, really. So, but no, the lads have been great. They're a really good group. We got told by a lot of people when we first came in, you'll really enjoy working with them. They're a good group, and they are. So, probably surprised a little bit about one or two of them when you work with them, how good they are, and disappointed that they're playing in the third tier of English football. But hopefully with our help, we can get them back where they need to be.
We'll look ahead to Tuesday night's game in a moment or two, but I wanted to take the chance to sort of get to know you a little bit as well, if that's all right. 5 years you've been with Paul Warne now. Talk to me about the partnership, how you get on.
Well, we've known each other over 20 years. We played together from 2000, I think, till about 2004, 2005, before we actually both went to Mansfield after that. He went on loan and I went permanently. We ended up sort of keeping in touch, I suppose, really through our wives and our children who were born. Our 2 boys were born a few months apart, then our 2 daughters were born a few months apart. And our wives kept in touch and were quite good friends, and we ended up both staying in the game. Obviously, I ended up being a manager in 2011, and he went on to the fitness side. So we always kept in contact and talk about, ideas, and we did our PGCE teaching degree together as well when we'd both, I think he might have still been playing, but I'd just finished, I think, with a knee injury. So we both went to college and did our PGCE together for 2 years. So we spent a lot of time doing that. And then, like I say, kept in touch. And then, whatever it was, 5, 6 years ago, probably 6 years ago, around about now, I think I'd just gone to Charlton. I was assistant manager at Charlton, and Paul was given the caretaker role initially, and then the permanent role, and rang me and said, I'm going to take the role on a permanent basis. I need somebody to come and help me. Would you come and help? So I had the conversation with Carl Robinson, who was very kind to allow me to go and work with my mate at my hometown club. And 5.5 years later, we were still there.
Back in your playing days, did you think that one or both of you would go into the coaching managerial route or not?
Well, he came into the game late, which I'm sure he's probably already told you. He came in after doing his sports science degree. So he didn't come in until he was 23. I started studying coaching when I was about 22, 23. So we were a bit the other way around, really. I started as a pro as an 18-year-old and then ended up retiring at 34. But I studied my coaching badges all the way through whilst playing. So it was something I always wanted to do, and you could always see that he was intelligent enough, not just about the sports science, but he was a real people person. So I think he's probably even admitted to you guys, and he's certainly admitted on a lot of times before, management wasn't something he was particularly interested in or envisaged himself going into. But because of his standing within the club at the time and his relationship with other people, due to, I think, the turnover of, I think they had 3 managers in 4 months or 5 months or something, and it sort of fell on his door, and he took to it like a duck to water. So I always wanted to. I obviously ended up managing myself quite early. I was 36 when I got my first role. Stepped back to become an assistant 3 years later. And he obviously went the other way, and we've, I think, found our niches.
You had tremendous success at Rotherham, as everyone knows. What was your reaction when he told you there might be another club that wants us?
Firstly, pleasing off the back of, not in a disrespectful way to Rotherham, but it meant that our work was getting recognised elsewhere, which I think, off the back of the first promotion, the club being in the Championship for a few years, everyone was just like, well, that's, it's just a bounce back, so we sort of almost should. And then the second time was a bit like, oh, right, you know, maybe these guys are not bad at this. But then we had I think that was the COVID year. So then we had people throwing at us that, oh, actually, if it hadn't been for COVID, you wouldn't have gone up. And then to do it the third time, I think, and obviously off the back of the win in the Papa John's as well, meant that we were starting to get recognised, or Paul was obviously as the manager. So pleasing that we were getting some kind of external recognition. And then obviously, you know, a lot of conversations about, is it the right thing for us to do? Is it the right thing for Rotherham United? And is it the right thing for Derby County? Because it wasn't just about us, it was about what we were leaving behind and what we were coming into. So, but, you know, the football club is a massive football club. It's a Premiership club in size, and we just felt that it was an opportunity for us to one day maybe, you know, get an opportunity to work at that level. You've
only been here a week, really. This is probably the 5th or 6th day that you've actually been at Moor Farm. Does it feel like home yet? How quickly does that feeling start to come?
I mean, everybody's made us feel very welcome right from the start, to be fair. So when I say everyone, I mean the whole large number of people who work for the football club, which we're not used to. So does it feel like home? Yeah, we're starting to feel that way, but you know, it's been a long week. So it's bizarre to think it was only 7 days ago that we walked through the door for the first time. That does feel like a very long week, really. So, but yeah, unfortunately, football is you're a bit very nomadic, aren't you? You end up moving around. I think Paul ended up being the 3rd or 4th longest serving manager in England. So for us, it was a big thing. You know, it's a big change for us, but you know, it's the way of the world, and it's the way of certainly professional football. And if you want to stay for a long time, you're a bit of a romantic, I think, if you think you're going to stay at the same place for 20 years or so.
You've arrived with a packed fixture list, something like 8 games in the month of October alone. And on Tuesday, EFL Trophy away at Mansfield, a competition that I'm sure you're going to take seriously, given the defending champions.
Look, we think the competition's important for many reasons. One, it gives opportunities to players who are on the fringes of the squad, which is important when you've just had a new managerial team take over. It's important for younger players. You know, I'm sure there's many, and this football club's got a great history over the last few years of producing younger players, so I'm sure a lot of them have played their first games at this level. But thirdly, it's a competition that you've got an opportunity to win. You know, I know we've got the League Cup coming up in a few weeks, but you know, the last time a 3rd division or a 3rd tier team got to the final of the League Cup or the FA Cup, it doesn't happen very often. So someone's got to win it, and somebody's going to get an opportunity to play at Wembley in front of what I'm sure, you know, if we got a chance, would be a massive crowd. And it's, for some players, maybe the only opportunity they're going to get to play at Wembley. So initially, I get it, it's a group stage, you know, the aim is to get out of it, and it can sometimes take focus away from the league, which we are definitely not, you know, we're not going to do that. But ideally, would we like a cup run that runs alongside it to give people opportunities and then maybe lift a trophy? That's what you start thinking about a little bit further down the line. But yeah, the aim is to get out of the group stages.
Did it help you last season? Did it help sustain the promotion push, the trophy?
It helped initially, and then, if I'm being brutally honest, became a little bit of a hindrance because it helped keep players fit, it helped keep players motivated, it helped keep players playing at the tempo that we wanted, so that if they played in the league trophy, that if they were playing in the league 2 weeks later, they'd had a 90 minutes at the intensity we wanted to play at. And then, unfortunately, you start getting to the quarter-final, semi-final, then obviously for us it was the final. People have a greater expectation that they want you to win it, and they want to initially get to Wembley because people want a day out, and then people start talking about wanting to win it. And it came at a time for us last year that we were probably having a bit of a wobble up in the league. Now, was that as a part of people focusing on going to Wembley? I'm not so sure. But did it help at that particular time? Probably not. You know, it made a more congested fixture list. I think we ended up playing 7 Tuesdays out of the last 8 games, which when you're trying to win the league or get promoted isn't ideal. But it was a day out for, you know, particularly the lads who played in it, the lads who ended up winning it, their families, the lads who scored the goals at Wembley. It'll be something I'm sure that they won't ever want to change, and obviously that may be somebody in this football club.
Just finally, it is Mansfield, so it's a chance for you to visit a former club. Smile on your face when I mention it.
Yeah, I've been back quite a few times since. We played a few friendlies. We played there a couple of times with Rotherham, and I think I went there with MK. Not in a competitive game as it happens so far, but still a very special player. It's bizarre because I don't really know that many people there now. You know, I think Mez, the groundsman's, about the only person left, and I'm sure there's still a lot of fans who probably don't even remember me playing now because it was 15 years ago. So, but it is a football club that is very special to me because it was my first club as a captain, first club where I think I ended up scoring nearly 50 goals in 2 seasons or something. So it got me kick-started again after the back of being a bit part player in a championship squad for a few years. So the people were always amazing to me, amazing to my family. You know, my wife and kids always enjoyed coming. So it's a football club that I always look out for the results, and probably one day aim to go back and work there at some capacity. So, but yeah, it was a great 2.5, 3 years for me, and I never really wanted to leave, and I wasn't ever really allowed to tell the story of why I left, but I didn't want to go, and unfortunately I was sort of made to go. And but I played a part, I think, in helping save the football club at that particular time, which again just means it's a bit extra special to me.